Hi, and welcome back to another edition of the Good Eye Podcast. My guest today is Lorna Smith of Covenant Home Care, and rather than be too redundant, I will not do the intro twice. I will tell you, though, that healthcare, obviously, based on recent events, is an area that has a great need, and Lorna runs a healthcare company, obviously, and she, like so many in the healthcare industry, are in need of quality help. And also, as fate would have it, there are a lot of people who are going to be making career changes. So we basically center our conversation around that. People who might be making a career change or maybe lost a job or got laid off, and healthcare, having the great need is a great landing spot for a lot of those people who want to give back and are service-minded and perhaps are in the service industry anyway. So here's my conversation with Lorna Smith of Covenant Home Care, and I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Good Eye Podcast. And I'm Jay Smack, back with another Good Eye Podcast, and today with me is Lorna Smith, and Lorna is the owner of Covenant Home Care, and that what they do is kind of self-explanatory. Welcome, Lorna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jay?
I'm great. I appreciate you joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you letting me come on and be a part of this podcast.
Well, man, what you guys do is, I mean, under normal circumstances, it's needed, it's vital, it's admirable, but under these circumstances, I just can't even imagine the stress level and the number of details you're dealing with during this whole coronavirus thing.
Yeah, it's been challenging, although we have been very blessed not to have any clients or caregivers at this point. And we know that we still haven't hit the peak yet, but none so far that have had the virus. But the precautionary measures and the communication and training that goes along with trying to prevent that is incredibly challenging, as I'm sure you know.
Well, I've read and I've heard, but I cannot imagine everything that you're having to deal with, and the precautions you take, which is absolutely, appreciated by everybody involved, the families, the people who need the care, and of course, your people as well, which is
absolutely,
which is kind of what we're going to talk about today. I know that we were talking offline about the fact that you need caregivers, and during this unpredictable time, there may be people who have been laid off, are making career changes, might be looking for opportunities, and that healthcare is absolutely a field that needs and appreciates those people entering the field. Could we talk a little bit about, first of all, how people might approach you and might go about applying for a position and kind of what's involved, after they apply? Let's say, I lost my job and I wanted to get into healthcare and I approach your organization. What does that look like? What's the process?
Well, it's people who, like me many years ago, who was in a totally different field. I actually come from a advertising and printing and media background. And so from there, I started to volunteer and help with people who had needs that were seniors primarily, or had physical handicaps, which could be young adults as well. And I had practical experience, but no actual on-the-job training or no certification of any type. And so what we were thinking about is all these people who are displaced in the food industry or in other industries where they have been laid off because of the coronavirus, and how they might have thought about going into the healthcare field, but never have had an opportunity either because of time or financially or just have never pursued it for whatever reason. And now they have the time and they would have the resources because of the way that we're offering this. And so, what we're offering is to train people who have some practical experience and to have the time to take a course with us, and offer them that course free so that when they complete it, they'll be able to come out as a personal care aide and be able to work in the home care industry.
Um, do they need to be working with you or anywhere in the industry? You're offering this training for free.
Yes, and it can be, they don't, we would want them to commit to work for us, whether it's full time or part time, once they're done with the training process. And they could do that even if they went back to work full time in whatever industry that they were working before they were laid off or let go from the industry that they were in. And they could go back and work full time there and then just work for us a few hours a week, evenings or weekends or whatever. But this would just give them that opportunity for now until things do change in their industry. And then even after they go back, to be able to work with us part time, as they're able, in the home care industry.
Oh, wow. It sounds kind of ideal, even if their industry or their opportunity, their regular job comes back, or they're able to go
Right.
back to it, they could still keep you guys as a part-time or a passion project or what have you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if they work enough hours, before they go back to their full-time job and then they go back to their full-time position and they're not able for a while to work with us, then it's still fine, because it would only take a few hours of them working for us to be able to offset the training cost for them. So it's not anything that would require them to dedicate a tremendous amount of time to Covenant Home Care.
How long does the process take? What sort of commitment is there?
So, the class is a 2-week course for the PCA course, and what we would do is, if they've not had a lot of practical experience, um, initially we would place them after the course with clients who didn't have high or intensity care needs, that just had companion or needed companion care or very light personal care initially, just so that they can, if you will, get their feet wet. And then as they, learn and are trained more fully in the industry, then we would place them with clients who had greater needs. So you would apply, and then you would go through the 2-week training process. You would become certified, and then you could start to work.
I see. Excuse my ignorance. What does PCA stand for, and how? I don't know the lingo. How far out of certifications? How deep of certifications do you require based on certain roles? And the reason I ask is from a point of my own curiosity. We went through Alzheimer's with my mother-in-law, and those nurses that were tending to her were an absolute godsend. And I know that's that something like that is pretty intense, and I know you need
Yes.
further certification. So what does PCA stand for, and what sort of certifications do you guys require based on the care that's needed?
Right. So, PCA is the first step in caring for or providing personal care in the home care industry, and that stands for personal care aid. And then there is the CNA, that's a state certified nursing assistant, and that is a 6 to 8 week course. But you do not have to have that to start working in home care. It's just the next step. And then obviously there are LPNs, licensed practical nurse, and then an RN registered nurse. We really only have 3 RNs on staff because they primarily do the assessments and the oversight of all the care. But the PCA certification allows the employee to work with us on probably half of our cases. Many of the facilities that we work in, we're contracted with a number of the facilities in the Richmond area and Hanover County. And you do have to have your state license to work in those facilities. But for in-home care, those are all, a PCA certificate is all that's required for those.
I see. I guess I was just a little bit surprised by that. I didn't realize that people could make career changes and get into healthcare like that.
Yes, and again, we would not allow them to work in a situation where, for example, someone had a prosthetic or a colostomy or an ileostomy or was on hospice care. We wouldn't put someone who had not had at least 2 years of experience into a situation like that. But a lot of our clients, when they initially start out, are just looking for someone to prepare a meal, to do some light housekeeping, to run some errands for them, and to just be in the home while they take a shower, just in case, they do have a fall or slip, and they can be there for that. And so those are the type of cases that these particular applicants that I'm referring to, how they would start in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Couple general questions, if you don't mind. First of all, is how are you guys? How are you doing? And second of all, what measures are you taking? Because you still have to engage with people and interact with them. What measures are you taking to ensure safety and non-infection, et cetera, et cetera?
Right. Well, obviously, our hours are down because there are a lot of people who have actually some of those people who I was referring to that would use some of the people that we would potentially be hiring from these classes. These are the families who it's not a life or death situation for us to be with them. And so they've chosen to quarantine themselves in the home. And so a lot of those have canceled services for the next few weeks, just until things, or suspended services just until the quarantine is lifted and they can feel more comfortable about people coming into the home. But for those that we have to go and we have to be there, our 24-hour cases and those who have intense needs. We have precautionary measures for the way they enter the home, the way they prepare their shoes, either with shoe guards or spraying them with Lysol, and how they do their hand washing process and wearing their gloves and mask, etc. And then how they protect their clients by doing the shopping for them and making sure that the items that are being brought in the home are sanitized and safe before they're put into the pantries and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Well, I sure do wish you all the best. And,
thank you.
You guys are absolutely essential. I mean, they talk about essential workers. You guys absolutely are among the most essential. So I wish you nothing but the best. And I hope you get some good people out of it. And I hope that you guys stay safe and healthy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it's very simple. They'll go to our website, www.covenanthome.care, and they'll apply. There's a banner at the top, a pink banner, and it says employment opportunity, and click here, and they'll click there and fill out the application, and then it'll come to us and we'll start the process from there.
Okay. Sounds good. And anybody who wants to click through can do that from goodeyepodcast.com as well through the episode site. So
awesome. Thank you.
Lorna, I wish you the best, and I do appreciate you taking a few minutes to be on the podcast here today.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this. You have a great day. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks again to Lorna for stopping by. She's a very sweet person and a very caring and service-minded person, up against great odds these days, as are many of our first responders and essential employees and caregivers and people on the front lines. It's just amazing what they're doing. So please do get in touch with Lorna if any of that rang true for you, and I hope you found something useful in this episode. If you'd like, please get in touch. Feedback, reviews, shares are always appreciated. If you have an inspiring story, a nonprofit that needs a light shined upon it, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can hit me directly at goodeyepodcast@gmail.com or smackj, that's SMACK, at gmail.com. Find out more at goodeyepodcast.com. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Good Eye Podcast.